Hello, welcome back to my channel, Tula Being Mindful Movement. I'm Hannah. Today is about releasing tension in our neck and our shoulders, an area of the body that often needs some extra love and care. For today's practice, it's a good idea to grab some kind of blanket or towel, a couple of cushions or pillows, and 2 yoga blocks. So go ahead and get yourself all set up, and I'll see you on your mat in just a moment. So I thought the first thing that we would do is just take a moment to concentrate on our breath. And I've just moved some of those props out of the way and I'm holding onto my blanket here. So don't worry if your blanket isn't as large as mine, but we're going to create a bit of a block shape that we're going to place underneath the rib cage down towards the pubic bone. So some of us will have it higher. You could have it covering the chest. Personally, I quite like it just over that kind of portion of the body, but you're welcome to take it longer as well. So for me, I'm probably going to just need something as wide as that. And then ultimately, my forehead will be either on the floor or it will be placed on top of the hands there, the back of the hands. So it may be that I need a little bit more, but that works just about fine for me today. This blanket is particularly soft. Sometimes it works nicer with a more firm kind of blanket or towel. So the pubic bone is just sort of teetering on the edge of your blanket, and the rib cage is also supported there. Choosing what position you want to take with your head. I'm choosing to have nose facing down. If that's uncomfortable for any reason, you can turn the head one way. Just try to remember that within sort of less than another minute, you'll want to turn it the other direction. See if you can soften through the shoulders, soften through the legs, and just initially notice the feedback of body and earth as you lay here. You might notice that the breath feels a little caught as it sort of pushes down and into the earth. But see if you can, over time, enjoy this pushing sensation of body pressing down into the ground and a feeling of rising up from the earth and then softening back down again. So there is a general concentration of breath into rib cage, into belly, a sense of expanding into the front of the body and then releasing as you exhale. After a couple of rounds of breath, you might feel just a little more at ease with this feedback of earth and body. Do turn the head if you have had it one way. If it is at all possible, for the second part of this part of our practice, this sort of posture, could you take a little pause at the tail end of your inhale and maybe a pause at the tail end of your exhales now? A moment of suspension added in here. Keep coming back to the breath. Find your easeful rhythm, breathing in and out through the nose if possible. So from here, just starting to lift yourself up, and we're going to take just a minute in Sphinx pose. No more. Some do prefer a little prop underneath the ribs, but if possible, holding yourself here with the forearms, pressing into the earth. You can have hands closer together. You could have elbows further away than I had so that your heart is a bit lower. You could even widen the elbows if that's more comfortable. Just see if you can lift your heart higher than your pelvis. And you can even let the head drop here for the second portion if it isn't already. Just 2 more breaths. Feeling into a long back of the neck. Maybe you notice that the belly presses even more firmly into the earth as you breathe. And then I invite you to bring the hips back towards the heels. Again, we're not there for super long. First sort of few poses in today's practice. I'm not asking you to hold for minutes and minutes. Just sort of a minute to a minute and a half. So when you're ready into child's pose, it might be worth having the knees parted to let the belly feel a little more expansive now and free between the thighs, supporting the forehead however you might need. And then slowly rolling your way up to kneeling. So I'm just going to lengthen out my blanket again. You could keep it exactly where it was, just there, but I'm just wanting a little more softness today. If you're on carpet, you might not need that, but just give me a little extra warmth and softness. No need to have that under the belly. It might be worthwhile having one pillow just sort of close by towards the top edge of your mat. It may be that you'll be wanting to bring your forehead onto that in a moment. So we'll sort of play this out a little bit. I'm just going to demo the shape of my arms whilst I'm upright here. And we'll be going back onto our belly. We're going to crisscross the arms underneath us. So let's start with your left arm higher than the right arm. And you'll be sort of finding a position that sort of works for ladies between the breasts and between the chin, so wherever you can sort of find a bit of space there. It's sometimes a little bit more tricky for guys or women who have really big muscles. That's going to be much more of a challenge to really sweep those arms across, so you're just sort of feeling into your own body. Anyone that has issues with shoulders as well, don't necessarily think, oh, it has to look exactly like what you see on the screen here with Hannah right now. So we're going to be just letting the arms sort of drape underneath us as you come onto your belly. I'm just going to push the pillow out of the way initially. I may not use that at all. So laying the belly on the mat, you're going to have right arm lower, left arm higher. So the pillow may be way too far away from your head. It may be that that's not useful. Maybe having a block is actually more useful. For me, the pillow is really doing nothing at all. It's just giving me a little sense of contact, a little sense of touch. We're holding this pose just sort of a minute, no longer. Some of you might be a whole lot higher off the earth. So bringing a block may be far more useful. Actually, the block is really working for me today. I'm not needing to go any deeper in my own body. Once you've found that posture that you think, yeah, I can stay here, we're holding it sort of a minute to a minute and a half. Between all of these shorter holding poses today, I'm offering a little moment to settle back into child's pose. So see if you can stay here for at least another 3 slow full rounds of breath, and you might actually have a little bit more room. So maybe the hands part further away from center even more for those last couple of breaths. And then when you think you've finished your last exhale there, soften back again towards child's pose. And keep a block handy for the next round. I am enjoying bringing the arms back behind my body on this variation of child's. Choose what feels appropriate for your little rebound there. Whatever shape you've chosen, is there any space for you to soften through the neck muscles, the shoulders, soften through the belly? The shoulders being definitely a trigger point in the body that holds a lot of our stress and tension. So imagining perhaps the muscles in that area of the body, a little bit like ice cubes begin to melt into water, and like water starts to evaporate into air, this sense of real releasing. So we'll take the second side. If you can remember which arm you had higher and closer towards your chin, we'll swap it over. So it'll be the other side this time. And it could be that you notice that one side means that you need more props underneath the forehead or less. Again, once you've sort of found your place, you're there for a good minute to a minute and a half. See if you can really let go into the pose. A sense of surrendering all of your muscles. Feeling the support of the earth and props here, if you're using any. And then just a last full round of breath, perhaps, if you're still there, before you think about settling once again into your child's pose. Choosing whatever shape feels good for the legs, for the arms. Seeing if you can notice the subtleties of the body and the shape of the body, readjusting. Muscles, ligaments realigning. And then slowly rolling your way back up.
So we're going to grab both of those blocks now and perhaps just play around with this for a moment until you sort of figure out what feels right for you. So ultimately, we're going to be landing our shoulders, sort of this part, the front of the shoulder, onto your props, onto your blocks. If you don't have blocks, some books can work, but you'd have to have books at the same level. So you might pause the video and try and find that now if you'd like to give this one a try. Again, having a pillow might be useful. I will put it out of the way. There's a chance that I'm just going to want to dangle my head, so I'll sort of see that. And you'll be sort of testing out what height you want to go. Sort of lowest to medium height is probably the realistic two that you're trying, not on the highest level. So I'm going to lay again onto the belly. The arms are beside the body with the fingers draped towards the toes, and then you're just seeing if you can really let yourself sink between your props, your blocks. I'm going to try another height. I feel like I have a little bit more space there. And then again, we're here for a good minute and a half, pushing it to 2 minutes and just seeing whether we can once again surrender our body to the earth, to the pose. You might still be rearranging yourself to find deep comfort. Remembering that in our therapeutic and yin style practice, we are not trying to push ourselves beyond our limits. It isn't that we are trying to get the deepest stretch we can possibly muster. We're trying to get deeper than the muscles and into the ligaments and the fascia tissue here. So there is no need to be pushing into such a pose that we are experiencing pain or real discomfort, because we're here for a little bit of time. The aim is to go slow and tender with the body. Bring attention back to the breath, back to the observation of physical sensations, drawing your mind back to the now. We've been working into heart chakra, throat chakra, and just noticing whether the mind became incredibly chatty in that moment. Are we able to think about landing our thoughts by drawing attention to our breath here? One more round of breath. And then thinking about softening our way back, child's pose once more. From child's pose, slowly rolling your way upright. So we're going to grab hold of our blanket, and I invite you to roll or fold it a couple of times. So I've turned it into a square, and then I'm going to just roll one edge. We'll be landing our neck onto this roll here, and head will be onto sort of the flatter part there. And then it can be nice to have two pillows, one underneath each back of the knee. I'm about to disturb my sleeping beauty. Thank you, my love. It can be that you just use one pillow, of course. So I want to let the legs be really relaxed here. We've got that support underneath the back of the knees. And then we have that rolled up part that's going to be placed right at the base of the skull. It might be that you need to move it a little until you find, yep, the right position. So I have my shoulders on the earth, and we just got that roll underneath the back of the neck there, so that the neck feels really supported, the legs feel really supported. And just take a moment here, feeling that connection once again with earth and body in reverse to the beginning of our practice today. As you breathe, noticing the freedom of movement that we have there, as we've not got the earth pressing on the front of our body now. Notice the freedom of the shoulders to drop down and away from the ears. And notice the support of the roll of your towel or your blanket beneath your head. Notice wherever you notice it, any sort of little pressure points of goodness, of that support of your blanket. Maybe you noticing the softness, the warmth of that support beneath you. For some of you, you might notice a sense of cradling of the head, the skull. And just for a couple of rounds of breath here, I invite you to bring a little visualization to your breath. Imagine now that your breath enters through the very top of your head, the center top of your skull. And as you breathe in, you notice the movement of breath, working its way down the length of the spine, but also then down, splitting through each leg, perhaps down towards the heel of your foot. And then the return of that breath up each leg, along the length of the spine, out through the crown of your head. And again, if possible, start to add those little moments of suspension right at the peak of an inhale and right at a peak of an exhale. And use your creativity to imagine that breath in terms of how you visualize that breath. For some, a little extra visualization of the breath almost appearing like a ribbon flowing in and out as you breathe. Perhaps the visualization has left your mind. That's okay. Just notice the breath entering now through nose or mouth. Notice the breath leave nose or mouth. And only when you feel ready, start to add a little wiggle of fingers, of toes. Enough that you might like to reach the arms up overhead. And then before you go ahead and lift yourself up, spread the arms out like a cactus plant, a stop sign. Feel through the front of the chest. Feel the shoulder blades draw together, an openness through pecs, collar, bones. And if it feels comfy, turn your right ear down towards the earth. And then when you find your next inhale, head to center. I won't turn my head the other way, the microphone will not work, but when you're ready, turning the head the opposite direction. And then when you're ready, bringing the head back to center. And then rolling your whole body to the side to gently lift yourself up. Coming to sit tall. Thank you so much for joining today's practice. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I bow to you.
Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like it below, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon. Not only will this keep you up to date with my offerings, but will keep content like Tula being free and accessible to all.